Hi there, my name's Tom, and as promised, I'm getting back to how to prepare for an actual emergency. Things like flood zones, fire, hurricanes, earthquakes. Just having an emergency bag to help you get through the first few days while you're waiting for uh, Christy Nome to sign off her approval so that FEMA can actually deploy. So, here's that bag I've been talking to you about. As you can see, I went with a Molly webbing type bag because even though I usually despise tactical stuff, having been an active duty service member, I'm usually really not into it. I went with this from 511 Tactical because it's a very well made bag. It's made in the US and it gives me the ability to expand so that I have storage on the outside, like when I fill up and build my first aid kit. Or I can add tools to the outside, like this Leatherman core. Now, I went over in a bunch of my videos two important things I'll touch on in this one. Number one, you cannot drink flood water ever, because LifeStraw can't do anything about the chemical pesticides, the chemical fertilizers, the batteries and PCBs our grandparents dropped in the river that's now in the groundwater. Yeah, LifeStraw can't fix that. So you need to bring your own water with you. And these 511 bags are usually compatible with a water bladder. And as such, I have installed one in this bag. And it holds 3 liters. You take the top off, you attach it to this strap so you don't lose it, then you open up the top and you fill it with 3 liters of water. And that's something you got to remember to do as you are leaving on your evacuation. Now, you do not want to leave that just plain full of drinking water because it goes bad over time. That's not a good idea. Well, like I said, having a bag that has a water bladder is especially useful, especially if you might have a couple of days where you gotta rough it. And I talked about knives and sharpening objects, and I even demonstrated some. And here is, not that I need to carry 2 different Leathermans in here, don't worry about the yellow jacket, he's just investigating. I used this knife as an opportunity to show you how to use this particular sharpener, the Lansky Turnbox sharpening system, which is very easy for an amateur to use. I also showed you what I have in this bag, and I got something new in this bag, but we'll get to that one last. So just to recap, the Lansky Turnbox sharpener has fine ceramic rods, and it has coarse ceramic rods. Now you can sharpen your blade to a 20-degree angle or a 25-degree angle, depending on how robust you want your knife to be. This system makes things very, very easy for the lay person who's not good at sharpening to sharpen a knife. However, let's see, where is it? Okay. I don't know if I can show you effectively. It looks like I just can't with this camera. Sorry. But the bevel on this knife is not a 20-degree bevel. It's probably 17. And this is not a super steel. So a 20-degree bevel or a 25-degree bevel will last longer. You can't see that bevel. Why? Because we effectively ground a micro bevel off of the end of that factory bevel. That blade is actually now tougher than it used to be. However, the it's not going to it's not going to be the sliciest edge, even though we did polish it on this bit of leather to remove its burr. Other options for sharpening that take up less space than the turn box. Now here I have two pocket stones from Dan's. One is a soft Arkansas, one is a hard Arkansas. I'm sorry if the wind is messing up the sound quality. But the downside, if I want this and these, now I've got more pieces. Number two, these are oil stones, but you don't keep a pocket stone covered in oil in a bag, in your pocket, in your backpack, because you're going to end up getting oil all over everything. So basically, you use water on these, and eventually their pores will plug up with metal. And so these end up being kind of disposable. You gotta have to get rid of them eventually. I love Arkansas stones. They're better than aluminum oxide. However, they will plug up if you're not using oil with them, and they become less and less effective. Now, after any kind of sharpening, I always recommend, just running a strop, running your blade across some stropping compound on a piece of leather, because your blade will effectively stay sharp longer. Well, the more you remove the coarse edge that grinding with a stone will leave. So our last option is this ceramic whetstone, fine and superfine, by Falk Neven, and I like it. Now, I'd call this more of a medium fine. The gray side and the white side is definitely fine. And it's super effective, but because you don't have a coarse side, you don't have the luxury of going until your blade is really messed up. You really need to stay on top of and take care of the edge of your blade. Now, one thing I hadn't thought of in its nifty leather carrying case, but the one time I actually read the instructions, is they left the flesh side of the leather on the outside, on the back of this case, and recommends you rub stropping compound on it. So I used a Sharpal green stropping compound, scraped it across the back of this, and now I have an effective strop for my knife. So after I'm done sharpening, heck, leave the stone inside and it will effectively act like a stropping board. And this is a really good, really convenient, now all-in-one sharpening system that comes in its own convenient little bag. So everything is contained. So, what should you do? Well, since we're starting out with, non-super steels, you don't actually need ceramic stones. You could go with aluminum oxide. But what happens when you upgrade? Maybe you upgrade your actual camping knife, the big one that goes in with your emergency supplies, to something with a super steel. Now, regular aluminum oxide, that you buy online from Amazon or you can get at Ace Hardware, can't sharpen that knife anymore. Then you've got these, but they need separate packaging so you don't confuse your soft and your hard. And because they really need oil, which isn't an option, they're effectively now a disposable. So I would go with either this option, which takes up the most space, plus this little square of stropping compound. And I would just keep that in my bag. Or I would go with something like this. I went with Falkneven because they don't make crap. Falkneven is a good brand, and you know, you're not going to break the bank on a sharpening stone, like buying a sharpening stone like this. I think this was like $25, and I now have a self-contained all-in-one set of stones. And because my really nice bag is great for organizing, I can put it in this pouch out of the way, or I can put it all the way in the back in there. And if I don't have a handy MOLLE pouch for my multi-tool, I can put it back here with my sharpening kit so that it's ready to go in a moment's notice during an emergency. So there you have it in just under, well, in under 12 minutes. Hope this was useful information. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, and have a great day.